The first lesson that you want to use when you are starting your nonfiction book is to orient yourself to the text, generating questions and ideas. The word orient means to notice what is around you to determine where to go next. Let's do what readers typically do when reading nonfiction books and take a minute to orient ourselves to the text, to anticipate what it might teach. I'll show you how I study the front cover first, and then you'll preview the table of contents. But first, we want to have a page in our notebook to keep all of our thoughts and ideas. So in your notebook, you're going to write Orient to a new book. You're going to put the date. You're going to set yourself up with a chart. One side, front cover, table of contents, introduction. If you don't have a table of contents, you could look at the back cover. If you don't have an introduction, you could look at the preface, prologue, or even the first chapter, whatever the first information is. As I look at the front cover, I'm going to see, what do I notice? What do I see? And because of that, what do I think the text will be about? So I'm going to start by looking at the front cover. So I notice that there is a cheeseburger with a skull and crossbones. I also see that there's a lot of red, white, and blue colors. I see some French fries up top. I notice the money symbol. And I think because of that, I think the text might be about how cheeseburgers could be dangerous, how French fries and cheeseburgers make money. But then I also notice it says everything you don't want to know about fast food. So it makes me think that the text might be about the dangers of fast food and the things I might not want to know about it. I also see that's a national bestseller. That, plus I see the red, white, and blue, it makes me think the text is going to be about America and how Americans view fast food and how it could be dangerous. So what I did was I looked at what I notice, what do I see, and because of those two things, what do I think the text might be about? So I want to keep all of my thoughts in my chart here. So I see a cheeseburger and crossbones. I could put other things that I might see or notice. So the author might be teaching me that cheeseburgers or fast food are dangerous. So I'm putting my ideas and my questions right where I see the front cover. Next, I'm going to preview the table of contents. For some of you, you might not have a table of contents, so you could look at the back cover of your book. So I'm going to look at the table of contents, and I'm going to, again, ask myself, what do I notice? What do I see? Because of that, what do I think the text might be about? So looking at the table of contents, I see a lot of different chapters. Some of the chapter titles really pop out to me. The Secret of Fries seems really interesting because I'm wondering, I notice that it says the secret of fries, which makes me think, well, why? Why is there a secret of fries? What could the secret be? I know a lot about French fries, so I don't know what could possibly be a really good secret of fries. It makes me want to read more. It also says stop the pop and meat, which makes me think the text might be about, this part of the text might all be about the different ingredients of the things that they sell at fast food restaurants. I notice and I see that up here it has pioneers, youngster business, and McJobs. McJobs and business make me think that a couple of these chapters could be about different business aspects of McDonald's and fast food. So what I'm looking at when I'm trying to orient myself to the text, I'm looking at the front cover, looking at the table of contents, I'm asking what do I notice, what do I see, and because of that, what do I think the text might be about? What questions could I possibly raise? So I want to keep my notes in my notebook. So I see these two titles, so I think the author might be teaching me that there are two major sides to fast food, the business and the ingredients. Now I'm going to read the introduction, and if you don't have an introduction, you could look at your preface, prologue, chapter 1, whatever first information that you see. The first information that I see is the introduction. So I'm going to read through this. And as I read, I want to ask myself, what do I notice? What do I see? And I want to try to gather questions and different ideas that the text could be about. Pull open the glass door and feel the rush of cool air. Step inside. Look at the backlit colored pictures of food above the counter. Look at the cardboard ads for the latest Disney movie. Get in line. Place your order. Hand over some money. Put the change back in your pocket. Watch teenagers in blue and gold uniforms busy working in the kitchen. Moments later, grab the plastic tray with your food. Find an empty table and sit down. Unwrap the burger. Squirt ketchup on the fries. Stick the plastic straw through the hole in the lid of your drink. Pick up the burger and dig in. The whole experience of eating at a fast food restaurant has become so familiar, so routine, that we take it for granted. It has become just another habit, like brushing your teeth before bed. We do it without even thinking about it, and that's the problem. So every so often when you're reading, you want to stop, reflect, ask yourself, what do I notice? What do I see? And because of that, what do I think the text is going to be about? What new questions or ideas do I see? So I'm wondering, how is something so normal going to be dangerous? That's one of the questions that I'm wondering so far. I'm going to keep reading with that question in mind, seeing if it's going to be answered, or if I find new ideas. Every day, 1 out of 14 Americans eats at McDonald's. Every month, about 9 out of 10 American children visit one. McDonald's has become the most popular fast food chain in the world, and by far the most powerful. In 1968, there were about 1,000 McDonald's restaurants, all of them in the United States. Now there are more than 31,000 McDonald's selling Happy Meals in 120 countries, from Istanbul, Turkey to Papeete, Tahiti. In the United States, McDonald's buys more processed beef, chicken, pork, and apples, and potatoes than any other company. It spends more money on advertising and marketing than any other company that sells food. As a result, it is America's most famous food brand. The impact of McDonald's on the way we live today is truly mind-boggling. The Golden Arches are now more widely recognized than the Christian Cross. Despite McDonald's fame and all the money it spends on advertising, every day the vast majority of its customers don't plan to eat there. Most fast food visits are impulsive. The decision to buy fast food is usually made at the last minute without much thought. People generally don't leave the house in the morning saying, I'm going to make sure to eat some fast food today. Most of the time, they're just walking down the sidewalk or driving down the road, not thinking about anything in particular. Maybe they're hungry, maybe they're not. Maybe they're in a hurry and don't have time to cook. And then they see a great big fast food sign, the Golden Arches, the red and blue of a Domino's pizza box, the pictures of Colonel Sanders, and they suddenly think, hey, I want some of that. So they stop to eat fast food. They do it because they feel like it. They just can't resist the impulse. The point of this book is to take that strong impulse we all feel, our hunger for sweet, salty, fatty fast foods, and make you think about it. Chew on This will tell you where fast food comes from, who makes it, what's in it, and what happens when you eat it. This is the book about fast food and the world it has made. So that makes me think, the book has just told me what the whole text is just going to be about. The introduction is one of the best ways to figure out what is your text going to be about. A lot of the times, it tells you. So I've got some questions here. How is something so normal going to be dangerous? It still hasn't really answered it, but it did talk about how it's really an impulse. It's not a planned thing, which makes me think, how does McDonald's and other fast food restaurants impact our daily lives? And as we keep reading, I'm going to ask myself some more questions. But I know, generally, that this is what the story is going to be about. But I want to keep these questions in mind as I read. They could be answered in the introduction, or I might have to read further in the text. Food is one of the most important things you'll ever buy, and yet most people never bother to think about their food and where it comes from. People spend a lot of time worrying about what kind of blue jeans to wear, and what kind of video games to play, what kind of computers to buy. They compare the different models and styles. They talk to friends about the various options. They read as much as they can before making a choice. But those purchases don't really matter. When you get tired of old blue jeans, video games, and computers, you can just give them away or throw them out. The food you eat enters your body and literally becomes a part of you. It helps determine whether you'll be short, tall, weak or strong, thin or fat. It helps determine whether you'll enjoy a long, healthy life or die young. Food is of fundamental importance. So why is it that most people don't think about fast food and don't know much about it? The simple answer is this. The companies that sell fast food don't want you to think about it. They don't want you to know where it comes from and how it's made. They just want you to buy it. So that also really popped out at me. You always want to stop yourself when you start to think deeply or have a reaction to the text. And it makes me think that this book might be about how companies only care about making money. So as I'm reading, I'm tracking what questions do I have, what have I learned about what the text might be about, and what ideas do I have for the rest of the story. Have you ever seen a fast food ad that shows the factories where French fries are made? Ever seen a fast food ad that shows the slaughterhouses where cattle are turned into ground beef? Ever seen an ad that tells you what's really in your fast food milkshake and why some strange sounding chemicals make it taste so good? Ever seen an ad that shows overweight, unhealthy kids stuffing their faces with greasy fries at a fast food restaurant? You probably haven't, but you've probably seen a lot of fast food commercials that show thin, happy children having a lot of fun. People have been eating since the beginning of time, but they've only been eating chicken McNuggets since 1983. Fast food is a recent invention. During the past 30 years, fast food has spread from the United States to every corner of the globe. A business that began with a handful of little hot dog and hamburger stands in Southern California now sells the all-American meal, a hamburger, french fries, and soda, just about everywhere. Fast food is now sold at restaurants and drive-thrus, at baseball stadiums, high schools, and elementary schools, in universities, on cruise ships, trains, airplanes, Kmart's, Walmart's, and even the cafeterias at children's hospitals. In 1970, Americans spent about $6 billion on fast food. In 2006, they spent about $142 billion on fast food. Americans now spend more money on fast food than on college education, personal computers, computer software, or new cars. They spend more on fast food than on movies, books, magazines, newspapers, and recorded music combined. Especially when you see facts and figures that really astound you, you want to stop and question and make some ideas about what you think, how that you think that relates to you. So I know that college education is really expensive, which makes me really surprised that Americans spend more money on fast food than college education. And it makes me question whether or not the same people have access to both things, right? So those are some of the questions that I have and some of the ideas that I have. As you read, you want to stop yourself whenever something pops out at you, especially facts or figures. Ask yourself, what do you think about this, and what questions do you have? Fast food may look like the sort of food people have always eaten, but it's different. It's not the kind of food you can make in your kitchen from scratch. Fast food is something radically new. Indeed, the food we eat has changed more during the past 30 years than during the previous 30,000 years. In the pages that follow, you'll learn how the fast food business got started. You'll learn how the fast food chains try to get kids into their restaurants and how they treat kids working in their kitchen, how they make their food. And you'll learn what can happen when you eat too much of it. These are the things you really need to know. Why? Because fast food is heavily advertised to kids and often prepared by workers who are kids themselves. This is an industry that both feeds and feeds off the young. For the most part, fast food tastes pretty good. That's one of the main reasons people like to eat it. Fast food has been carefully designed to taste good. It's also inexpensive and convenient. But the Happy Meals, 2-for-1 deals, and free refills of soda give a false sense of how much fast food actually costs. The real price never appears on the menu. Hundreds of millions of people eat fast food every day without giving it much thought. They just unwrap their hamburgers and dig in. An hour or so later, when the burger's all gone and the wrapper's been tossed into the garbage, the whole meal has already been forgotten. Chew on this. People should know what lies beneath the shiny, happy surface of every fast food restaurant. They should know what really lurks between those sesame seed buns. And as the old saying goes, you are what you eat. So now that I've finished the introduction, I've looked at the front cover, I've looked at the table of contents, I have a pretty good idea about what my book's going to be about. What I've done is I've oriented myself in the text. I've noticed things, I've seen things, and I ask myself questions, like what do I think the text might be about? What do I wonder about the text? What ideas do I have? And now I have them all in my notebook. And as I continue to read this book and do different things as I read, I will have this as a guide. Because I've oriented myself, I've noticed what's around me to determine where I need to go next. In your books, when you're orienting yourself to a new book, you want to look at the front cover, so you can make yourself a chart just like this in your notebook. Front cover, table of contents. If you don't have a table of contents, you can always look at the back cover. Sometimes there's a lot of good information there. You can look at your introduction. If you don't have an introduction, you could have a preface, a prologue, or just look at the first chapter. A lot of the times the first chapter is a good introductory chapter as well. So in your books, if you're starting a new book, you want to complete this chart.